Welcome to the Better Business Beat, your go-to source for insights, stories, and conversations that matter to our community. I'm your host, Mechele Mills, and each week we explore topics which impact the way we live, work, and do business in East Texas. From smart consumer tips and local success stories to practical advice for navigating today's challenges, we are here to keep you informed, empowered, and connected. So, whether you're a consumer, a business owner, or someone who just loves supporting local organizations, this show is your front row seat to the people, trends, and ideas shaping our region. Today, we are joined by Devon Smith, the Development Director at United Way of Smith County. Devon helps connect caring people and community-minded businesses with opportunities to make a real local impact, supporting programs with strengthened youth opportunities, health community, financial security, and community resiliency right here in our area. United Way's work also includes vital community resources like 211 East Texas, which helps connect neighbors with services 24/7. Devon, we are so glad that you are here. Welcome to the Better Business Beat. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Awesome. So, a lot to talk about. We're right in the middle of the holiday season, but just in case people don't know you yet or don't know much about United Way, tell us a little bit about yourself and what does a development director do? Like maybe even what does a typical week look like for you?
Sure. Well, I've been doing fundraising for about 10 years, and I did some in DFW where I kind of got my start. And then as I kind of grew into it, and my husband and I moved further and further east from Fort Worth to Dallas and now to Tyler. I have found a really great home away from home at the United Way, and it's just a very rewarding job to get to do every day to really help people in our community. The United Way has been here since 1940, so we're in our 85th fundraising campaign. And really what initiated the United Way was a group of companies that came together and said, hey, there are a lot of people in need in our area. They need help, and they keep asking us, and we don't know how to help them. And so those businesses got together and really established the United Way, which was originally called the Tyler Community Chest. And it really was a clearinghouse for donations to go. Those businesses could give one gift that went out to lots of different needs and lots of different people in our community. And we're still really, we're doing that work still. And so the spirit of it lives on with a new name, which we changed to the United Way in about 1970. But since that time, we've been just identifying community needs, listening to our community, and trying to raise funds that really help meet needs in our community.
So what does typical work week look like for you?
Oh gosh, it's always packed with lots of different things. But one of my favorite things to do is just one of the main staples of the United Way is employee giving campaigns. And so we work with about 40 to 50 companies every year, and we go and make presentations, and we talk with their employees and spend time with them. We listen to them. We get to share our spiel about what we do, and we invite them to give back. And when you're joined by all of your coworkers, it's not your one gift alone that's making a difference. You can really make a bigger impact with more people.
Awesome. What kind of pulled you into that type of work?
I was about 19, and I was a student at TCU. And I went and did an internship with the Fort Worth Symphony Orchestra. And I got exposed to kind of what fundraising is and what the impact can really be. And one of the programs I raised money for there was a community outreach program that took music to kids in Fort Worth. And I really just fell in love with it at that time, and I've never looked back.
Are you a musical person?
I am.
I like
So
to find that out about
I
people.
grew up playing the cello, and so
I
it's
love
something
the cello.
that yes, I do too. And my mom loved it because it's not as screechy as a violin when you're 4 years old. So,
wow.
but it's a meaningful thing in my life. I don't play now, but I would not like
you
to play in front of
should.
people now. But
You should. It's so beautiful. I love listening to
it's a
to
nice
it.
hobby
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
But I figured out kind of early on that I wanted to help on the back house of things, and really make nonprofits and arts nonprofits to an extent more sustainable, and to help them thrive. And so that's why I kind of got on that track of administrative work. And it's just been really fun to see the difference of what you can do. Money holds a lot of power. and it can really be meaningful for a lot of people. And that's part of what I do, is turn money into meaning. So.
And yet, I mean, no money, no mission is the phrase I've always heard, and it is difficult to run a nonprofit.
It is.
It's difficult to run a business, and you have to run a nonprofit like a business, except oftentimes there's not something tangible, and so your role as development director is really, really important in getting that support and telling those stories. And getting people engaged with the organization.
Right, and the word you used, engaged, is perfect. I mean, we're trying to inspire generosity, and that's not sales. That's not, buy a product, but it is buy into a mission, and that's what we try to do. And I'm so fortunate to get to talk with so many people in our community who are on all walks of life, all backgrounds, and a lot of times I've heard somebody say to me through their employee giving campaign, this is the first time I've ever given anything back.
Wow.
And that's really powerful to be part of that, because the United Way is a beautiful thing because it makes philanthropy for everyone.
Yeah, I love the job description that you gave. We try to inspire generosity. That's fantastic. So a lot of people know about United Way. It's been around for a while, and but some people may have some misunderstandings. What kind of what is something people often misunderstand about the United Way?
I think there's always a question about what it does, and that's kind of some of what I've come in contact with. The first time I told somebody I was going to go work for the United Way, they said, "Is that an insurance organization?" Wow. And I said, "Oh gosh, no, it's not." But really, so some of what we're trying to get the word out about is what we do and why we do it. And so we live in a really amazingly generous community. There are 2,100 nonprofits in Smith County. Yeah. That is a lot. And per capita, I think we're very high in the number of nonprofits for the number of people we have in our community. And I've lived in large cities that have a lot of nonprofits, but I've never seen such a concentration of those nonprofits. And so a lot of times what people are looking for, just like the way the United Way started as that community chest model, a lot of people are still looking for that, as far as, I want one place to give my gift for the year, and I know it's going to meet a lot of different needs. That is really the core of what the United Way is. And so I think that's really the biggest hurdle we've had, is kind of just re-explaining who we are and what we do. And the really important thing we do, I think, aside from making philanthropy for all, is really vetting nonprofits. Right. And so when you give a gift to the United Way, you know that the nonprofits on the receiving end of that gift have gone through kind of a rigorous process of vouching for their grant, and they have to submit a grant application every year and a report that goes along with it to say, hey, where did the money go last year? And how many people did you serve? And what did the services look like? And how did you change someone's life? And so a lot of times the way I explain it is that we do the work of vetting those nonprofits for you as a donor, so that you don't have to spend your time researching nonprofits and figuring out where your money should go, because we're going to do that work.
Very similar to what the Better Business Bureau does.
Absolutely.
Actually, I remember a long time ago, I don't remember, maybe 2000, it might have been about 10 years ago, I read an article in the Chronicles of Philanthropy, and it ranked the most generous communities, metropolitan cities in the United States, meaning they ranked them in different ways, but this particular list was the most generous, meaning that people gave the most of their income towards nonprofits. And Tyler and Longview ranked very, very high on that list. I think 32 and 35 respectively on that list. So we do have a very generous community, and it's very important that both for BBB, for businesses, and for nonprofits, that you make sure that your money goes to the right place, so it's making the impact that you want. So very, very important.
And it's interesting, because that statistic about Tyler and Longview really doesn't surprise me. Just with the people I interact with on a daily basis, you find that a lot of individuals who may not make hundreds of $1,000s a year have a lot to give, and they give it. And when you look at proportionally what they're giving, it's a lot. And when they join together as a group of employees or a group of people that's coming to an event, there's power in that. And there's power in making an impact. And also, a lot of times, the companies we work with use the United Way kind of as a culture build, because when you join together
Yeah.
with your coworkers, you're team building.
Yeah.
And
You're doing
it's
something good,
exactly.
united for the community. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and I've actually sat on that committee that does the vetting for the nonprofits, and they do a rigorous job.
Yes.
It is, in fact, because of the time of year that they do it, it's one of the busiest times of year for us, and so I could only
Yes.
do it for 1 year, but it is they do a lot of good work. Um, so when somebody does give to United Way, how are some other ways that the needs are assessed,
Sure.
and the funding decisions being made?
Yeah. So one of the things that the allocation committee that you've sat on
That's what it
before,
was. Yeah.
it's the group that really decides how the money gets distributed. I am responsible to try and raise as much money as possible so that that committee can then decide where the money's going to go. And so they look at things like the East Texas Human Needs Network studies and things like the Christus. Christus does a health needs assessment. They look at different statistics in the area, different needs, and they're usually coming from an establishment like Christus or like the East Texas Human Needs Network. And they're researching that. We have a staff member who kind of coordinates everything. And then those individuals take the time and review. I mean, they spend hours and hours and hours poring over those grant applications to make sure that the groups that we're funding are really, and specifically the programs we're funding, are really moving the needle in some way and helping someone. And typically, what we find is that a lot of the programs we fund are helping someone move from being dependent on a service or a nonprofit to getting them to that independence where they're living a fulfilling life and they're doing the work themselves.
So when a business joins the Better Business Bureau, we have certain standards that they have to meet to be able to be eligible for BBB accreditation. I am assuming that United Way has the same
Yes.
types of standards. What are those standards?
We do. We look at, well, first of all, we are United Way of Smith County, so we want to make sure that the money raised in Smith County stays in Smith County. So we have a lot of nonprofits like, the Goodwill Industries of East Texas. They serve a 14 or 15 county area.
Yeah.
But the money that's raised and that goes to them from the United Way of Smith County is specifically used for individuals in Smith County. So that's one. We want to make sure that they are serving the community where we are pulling money from, because we're a steward of someone else's resources. That's really who we are.
Yeah.
And so we look at that. We look at how are you standing wise with your 501c3 with the IRS. We want to make sure you're doing all the things you need to do. We require them to provide either an audit or some type of reviewed financial statements to make sure they're sound and everything is, they're doing what they say they want to do with that money. And then we look at things like local presence and making sure that they've got local leadership, because how can you serve a community if you don't know what the local needs are?
Agree 100%.
Yeah.
So if I have just started a nonprofit, can I apply, or do I have to have been in existence for an operation for a certain number of time?
So we always have an inquiry process open where you can submit and let us know who you are, what you do, that kind of thing. And we will look at, are you in good financial standing? Have you been around long enough? And I believe the stipulation is 3 years. I may be wrong. I'm sorry. It's in the handbook. But don't quote me on that. But I believe we require a nonprofit to be around at least 3 years so that you have some kind of, you've got some experience in those programs and you've shown that that's a valuable program already.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things I love, just having worked in nonprofits so long, a lot of funders want to fund like a big shiny new thing. And I love that the United Way funds go to support a lot of ongoing programs, because that's a lot of time the hardest thing to raise money for, is something that is, serving a lot of people, and it hasn't dramatically changed in several years because that need still exists.
Right.
And so, for Bethesda Health Clinic, one of the programs that we fund is their dental support. And so that's been around a long time, but it is still transforming people's lives.
Absolutely. Well, and you also want to make sure that you're supporting an organization that has a track record of doing good work. again, it is very hard to start a business or a nonprofit. So proving yourself is, you want to make sure that they've worked. You're taking somebody's donations, and you want to make sure that that money is going to going where it needs to go, and
Yes.
not to somebody who doesn't have the experience yet, quite yet. So. Good thing is there are a lot of resources out there to help a nonprofit
Yes.
do well. Do you guys provide resources like that as well?
We do. So, in partnership with UT Tyler, we have we house the East Texas Center for Nonprofits, which runs classes all year, and we do lecture series and different things. There's a lecture series going on right now. Actually, the second part is in January, but they're talking about all things fundraising. And they're talking. We've offered programs like grant writing and different things to try and help, especially small nonprofits, really be more successful. And use our community's funding in an effective way.
That's awesome. There are many ways that businesses can participate. You talked about having the employees give a portion of their paycheck.
Yes.
But how else can a business participate in United Way?
Yeah, so we do a lot of different things. We're a pretty varied organization for how small we are. We've only got 5 staff members, and so we invite participation from local businesses in any way you can participate. We run events, things like our campaign kickoff pickleball tournament in August. We do things like a golf tournament in March that's coming up. But there's lots of different ways, whether you can if you're a small business, you can give a small gift that helps kind of meet your priority in helping people. You can sponsor things. And we also run a really important program that I wanted to mention, which is our Pillar program.
Yep.
And the importance of that, a bunch of companies, about 40 companies, have come together and said, I want to help support the United Way's operating cost. It's not a tremendously fun thing to raise money for administrative costs. And the reason we established that is to make sure that employee contributions from employee giving campaigns, they go directly to the nonprofits we serve. Every year that I've been here, the amount of money that goes into that allocation process that you've sat on, Mechele, it is higher than what employees in this community have contributed or pledged. And so that's a really important thing. When you're working with an employee group, it's always important to mention to them that 100% of your money is going to the nonprofits, especially when you designate, because that's a big thing that our donors do regularly. I would say probably at least half of the donors we have are designating funds to a specific program, a specific partner of ours. They can say, I'm going to give $5 a week. I want $250 of it to go to the food bank, and I want $250 of it to go to Texas Ramp Project. And so we always honor those designations, but that Pillar program really helps with that.
That's really huge to be able to say that all of the money that you donate goes directly to the nonprofits you choose to support, and you can choose which nonprofits you want to support. I remember when we did it, some of us just chose, there was just one that was really meant something to them, something that was on their hearts, and so I love that people have the choice to do that.
And the more time I spend with it too, pretty much everyone in our community has a United Way story, some way that these funds have touched their life. I myself had a way because I didn't know it at the time, but when my daughter was born at the NICU at Christus, she spent 5 weeks in that NICU, and Children's Miracle Network is one of the partners of the United Way. And so some of that money that was being raised at that time was going to support my family. And so, we all have a person we know or someone who's been impacted by something.
We've all been touched, I would imagine, in some way. So about how many nonprofits do you guys support right now?
We support 27 nonprofits, and it's about 30 programs because some of them, we support more than one program.
Okay, that's great. So let's talk about volunteers and do you guys have volunteers, and for somebody that maybe wants to help but isn't sure how can they do that?
I think a great way, if you don't know how to get involved, volunteering by yourself can be challenging. I know I'm not the best accountability person with volunteering, And so I depend on groups of people to go and volunteer. Like we were ringing the bell yesterday for the Salvation Army.
Yeah.
But we run an event in the spring every year that used to be called the Day of Caring. It's been around for about 30 years. I think this is number 32 we're heading into, but it's now called Serve United. And what we do is look at our nonprofit partners and try and secure kind of projects throughout the community that people can sign up, and you can sign up as an individual if you want to. You can sign up with your coworkers and come in force. But essentially, we kind of disperse people out into the community through that Serve United event, which is always a really fun day. It's inspiring generosity in a very different way than giving money. If you can't give money and you can give a little bit of your time, we will love it, and we'll take that too.
And there's all kinds of things that people can do. I remember many years ago, they would come and just help us do our, back when they did scrapbooking and we wanted to keep track, now, before it went digital, they used to help us, do our year in review and all of that. So it was really nice having volunteers. Today, what kind of volunteer opportunities tend to be the most needed? What have you seen?
I think it varies. So we don't usually if somebody comes to us and says, "Hey, I want to volunteer. Can you help me?" We will absolutely try and help you find a good place, but usually we're going to direct you to one of our nonprofit partners because a lot of them have consistent volunteer needs. Things like, well, one of our nonprofit partners is Texas Ramp Project. I mentioned them a little bit ago, but not a lot of people know what they do, but they are a 100% volunteer operated organization here in Tyler and Smith County that they build ramps for people who are newly maybe disabled or can't get in and out of their home safely. And it's 100% volunteer. And so that we will always kind of send, if we hear somebody who wants something specific, then we will try our very best to help place them with somebody that we know and trust.
Awesome. So, from your observation, what's a challenge that local nonprofits are facing that you wish people understood?
Well, I think part of what I said earlier about having a program that helps nonprofits be sustainable. I think that every nonprofit is always there's never going to be enough money to do everything we want to do. That's always a hard thing, and money really does solve a lot of issues when it comes to nonprofits, because when you have the resources available, you can really make a difference in someone's life and you can respond to their needs. And so I think that's part of it. And also I think a lot of times nonprofits get a little bit stuck in the way they've always done something, and it's hard to try something new. It just is. We've been trying a lot of new things at the United Way lately. And sometimes they don't work, and that's okay. And you can kind of say, okay, we've tried that. Let's move forward in a different direction.
How you learn. I mean, you got to test things out.
It is. And when your resources are scarce, it's hard to take so many risks.
It's true. Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that nonprofits sometimes struggle with. But if you can, if you're a person who has some type of expertise in our community and a nonprofit approaches you about something, just listen to them and help guide them if you can, or offer an idea. I'm always open to ideas. I love people coming to me and saying, "Hey, we should try this." So
yeah. So can you recall like something that you guys tried that worked recently?
So the first year I got here, one of our board members came to me with an idea that we should do a pickleball tournament.
Okay.
And I said, I don't know anything about pickleball. I mean, I don't play pickleball. I've never really been around it. And we were doing an event at that time, our campaign kickoff, and it wasn't raising money to start our year. And so I thought, okay, well, let's put those two things together. Let's have a pickleball tournament to kick off our campaign. And so we started doing that, and we've done it 2 years now. And it's the first year it raised $14,000. It raised about $20,000 last year, so it's trending in the right direction.
Oh, that's great.
And it created some nice engagement with a lot of the companies that we work with all the time. They were able to send teams out to participate with us and kind of see the United Way in a different light. Yeah. So that was really fun.
Doing something fun, especially when times have been, I think since the pandemic, it's been things have been a little bit rough on a lot of people, and so doing fun things like that is important. not so serious. So
Mhm.
what a great way to start your campaign.
Mhm.
So, um, when you look at Fort Worth versus Tyler, not comparing the
Mhm.
two as far as what's better or what's worse, but what need are the needs the same? Are they different? How is it different?
I think a lot of the needs, I mean, I'm no expert in this arena, but I do think a lot of the needs hold true. A lot of things that I encounter as far as what a nonprofit is asking for are there's always an element that has something to do with the economy. And right now we're in a really hard time. A lot of people are struggling. I look at my grocery bill and it's twice what it used to be.
Right.
Um, and so that's really hard. And I think that those kind of needs kind of hold true in any community you're in. Um, but I will say Tyler has a really great way of responding to needs. And not that Fort Worth didn't, but it's just a very different community and people give differently here. And
Right.
so I'm always surprised by and pleasantly surprised by the way people respond and help you out when you need a hand.
Yeah,
So,
it's a great community. I
mhm.
really love living here. So what particular events or moments during the year are especially important for United Way's fundraising cycle?
Mhm. So I would say we tend to have a lot of employee giving going on in the fall. That's always a very busy time. But more and more, I feel like it's spreading out. So it's just never slow. We don't have an off time. But we do, we kind of peak with certain events. And one of them that we just finished up with was Give United. It's an online giving day, similar to East Texas Giving Day that happens in the spring, but it's just for the nonprofits that we support, those 27 nonprofit partners we have. And we offered some matching funds. $100,000 in matching funds went to
Wow.
those nonprofits. And it's always on Giving Tuesday, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
It's awesome.
So
Awesome. Okay, so what's the best way for someone to donate, learn, or volunteer with United Way?
you can always call us. We will absolutely pick up and we will respond. You can visit our website and kind of explore to see what might speak to you. And you can always visit with us. We're always got the door open. And so
Awesome.
I would say just give us a call.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Devon, for joining us today. It's been great having you and talking
Thank
to you
you.
about all the needs in Smith County, and we hope we have you back again one day. And thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week on the Better Business Beat.